I want to believe my mindset was good, but I will tell you there's a defeated side anytime you have to start over in life. Coming up in poverty, I think a lot of things you hold on to is your family, because you don't really have possessions to hold on to anyway. So it's really, my mom always says, blood sticking in water, boy, and so you knew, okay, whatever, I lost a house, I'll get another one, whatever, I lost a car, I'll get another one, and so no big deal. Lost a job, I'll get another one.
Matt Woolley Podcast.
Welcome to another episode of the Matt Woolley Podcast. So glad that you could be with us. Please like and subscribe. Do us a favor, like and subscribe if you like what you see and hear. My guest today is my good friend, David Faulk. Thank you for being here, David.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
All right. So here's what we do on this show, David. Right off the bat, we just kind of go through the list. And you've got a very interesting list of accomplishments. So you've been a professional crane operator, plasma cutter, and in management for a steel company in Louisiana. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. You've also handled Heartland Mortgage here in Northwest Arkansas. You've also worked for the city of Prairie Grove under the water distribution and water treatment plant. You've also worked for the city of Prairie Grove as a police officer.
That's correct.
And then you started that in 2013, 2015. You are the SRO and for the district of the Prairie Grove Police Department. Is that correct? Now, what is SRO?
So an SRO was a student resource officer.
Yes.
So basically they just allowed me to come off of patrol, and they put you inside the school district. So
you're the guy shaking people down for drugs.
You got that. so I still worked, sometimes there's some confusion on if you're still a police officer or do you work for the school, but you still work for the Prairie Grove Police Department or your respective police department, but your assignment is inside the school district. So I was the SRO for the Prairie Grove School District, but still formally employed by the Prairie Grove Police Department.
You've got your own little island that you have to oversee. Correct. That's a lot of responsibility there. And then it also says here in your history, you earned a 5-year teacher license for criminal justice, which is awesome. And then you taught that at Prairie Grove Schools, which I didn't realize that.
Yes, sir.
And then you've also done a lot of activities such as a soccer coach, working in the off-season practices. Before you were finally at your current job, the mayor of Prairie Grove.
That's correct.
So I had you on here because I am a Prairie Grove native, and I think you're an awesome guy. I've known you for a long time in your different periods of work in Prairie Grove, and I just think you have a fantastic story. So as we do here at the Matt Woolley Podcast, we're just going to dive right in. Where'd you grow up?
So I grew up in a little suburb off of New Orleans. It's a place, we call it the parish, St. Bernard Parish. Y'all have counties. Well, all of America has counties. And so down in Louisiana, we have parishes. So I grew up in St. Bernard Parish in a little town called Chalmette. St. Bernard Parish, similar to kind of Fayetteville. It's about 70,000 people. We were in a suburb off of Orleans Parish, out of New Orleans. We'll probably talk a little bit about Hurricane Katrina here later, but when you think about where Hurricane Katrina came and you heard about the 9th Ward and where the levees broke, the industrial canal, where if we go back to being a crane operator, still we were off the industrial canal right there, and my house is probably 5 minutes out of the 9th Ward. So we were just right on the outskirts of Orleans Parish.
So you're close to the coast then, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So forgive me because I'm very ignorant when it comes to Louisiana. I have just been across the border, as we say, but not down deep. But I do know, I know, are the rumors true? Is Louisiana food just so much better than everybody else? Okay.
It is amazing. Katrina brought me up here.
Well, hang on. Let's go back. Let's go back. I want to know the David story. So let's get deep. So you're born and raised there.
Yes, sir.
What was school like?
School was it was pretty. So school, in essence, was difficult for me.
Okay.
It was entertaining, like school. You get to hang out with your friends. Everything's good. My brother was super, super smart. My sister was really smart. And I just kind of was the scapegoat in the middle. I was the middle kid that you know, if I could study all week and get a C, like parents would cheer and like everything was great, right? And so school and education itself was a difficult task for me. I don't know. It's not today's world where they have an abbreviation on the backside of every name. I don't know if I had a learning disorder. I don't think I did. I guess I just didn't like it. So I didn't
some people more
hard worker,
are street smart.
Yes, sir.
You always seem like a street smart guy.
Yeah, and just a little bit different in the classroom. I appreciate it now as I'm getting older and mature, but I'm sure we'll get to that as we go on. But school itself, in Orleans and St. Bernard Parish, man, it was fun. We had a blast, man. Growing up there was a blast. And
were you a wild child, David? Or in between?
I was in between. I was the wild child of the family.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything. I didn't go off the deep end by no means, but you know, I have a few skeletons in the closet.
Yeah, well, we all do, right?
Yes, sir.
So you grew up in Louisiana. So what would you say? Just out of curiosity, this popped in my mind. We're gonna do stuff like this for a few times on this episode, just because me and you can keep it real here. So. What was it like? What's the differences between Louisiana and Arkansas as far as like culture-wise? What would you define? I know you love Arkansas, but I also know you love Louisiana. So
I'll actually dig deep on my love for Arkansas here.
Okay.
I truthfully, when we retire, we'll probably go south just to be in warmer culture. I have an issue with blood flow. And so even when it hits like 40 degrees, my fingertips will turn white and stuff, you know. And so being in warmer temperatures will help me as I get older. With that being said, I love Arkansas. I do not want to move back to New Orleans. Like and I love New Orleans. Like born and raised, love it. We grew up believing that's God's country. When we came up here and experienced what Northwest Arkansas had for us, that truthfully, I'm not just saying this because I'm sitting in front of you and I'm the mayor of one of y'all cities here. Like, this is a unique area. We're blessed to be here.
Absolutely.
We're blessed to be here. And so, I love it here. But your question is about how much I love New Orleans, man. We loved it. Once again, we grew up knowing that's God's country. We didn't want to be nowhere else. And it took something moving us out the way for us to open our eyes and go, hey, man, there's some better stuff out there. But you talked about the food earlier. The food is just amazing. The culture is different. Everything's a party up there. Well, excuse me, down there. Everything's a party down there. They were block parties all the time. And I will say New Orleans, probably like a lot of other big cities around the area, you can always find something to do. New Orleans was very much like that. There was never a weekend that you just go, what's Saturday? What do we do?
Yeah.
There was always
There
was always a festival. There was always something going on. I had some family that was in fact, my dad's from North Carolina, so I didn't see much of his family. My mom was born and raised in Orleans.
Okay.
So all of our family was shrimpers. I never did the alligator hunt and anything like that, but we had people in our family that did it. We would always call them the white shrimp boots, right? Because they always walked around in overalls and white shrimp boots. They all lived on the other side of levee protection, and that's what they did for life. Houses was on stilts. It was an amazing culture there. And the one thing,
alligator? Do you eat alligator?
Oh, yes, I eat all that stuff. It really is. It truly is amazing food. And if there's one thing I sincerely miss, it probably is the food. And I only say that because we were deep in our church down there. And obviously you build 29 years, you build family and friends. But because of Katrina, we were all just.
Is that when you came over when you were 29?
Yes, sir.
How old are you now?
I am 48. I'll be 49 this year.
Okay, so you're
for a while now.
Yeah, I'm with you. I've been up in Northwest since 2002.
The one thing I noticed here, and we all got in trouble for it in the beginning, and I will say that it feels a little bit more relaxed here in this aspect. We called everyone like sweetheart and baby and sugar. Like we had nicknames for everyone. We kissed everybody. Part of our culture down there was to kiss people. And if
it's the French thing.
Yeah, I guess it really is. Like even like you would be cuz, come on, cuz. And most of our friends, we didn't knock on our doors. Like you just walked in the house like you belong now. And so it's probably a culture that is probably isolated to that area. I wouldn't imagine that being in many other places. But that is one of those things that was a somewhat of a cultural change when we came up here.
Was that, did you run into circumstances where you were used to the old ways and just came on in?
So everyone thinks that I generally get this impression that, and people will say this all the time about how sweet I am because I have a sweetheart name for everybody. And so I think I do have to watch myself. I don't want men think, I wouldn't want you thinking I'm flirting with your wife, right? I'm not going to try to cross that line. Nothing to that extent.
No, I got you.
But so my mom's a good example of this. She worked for State Farm her whole life. She came up here. She was actually working at a State Farm agency here in Bentonville. Mm-hmm. And so she would make a sale. She would get up from her chair, which is what we would do. She would walk around. She would hug you. Kiss. She met you the first time. I'm telling you, my mom's going to kiss you on the cheek. Mm-hmm. And she would call you baby doll. And I'll just say, just to keep it nice and short, that most people didn't enjoy that. And so,
I'm a big hugger. I like to give hugs.
It's a stranger kissing you on the cheek. It becomes very odd for people. But that was something that we were not just accustomed to, but it was an insult if you didn't.
I think it's a Southern thing. Yes, and the problem, I think, up here, I would not say a problem, the cultural difference up here is it's such a melting pot. There's places in New York, that's where you get decked if you do something like that. Like, I met people up in New York, like, I'm a big hugger. Like, everybody knows me. I like to give hugs. Like, I'll hug dudes, I'll hug ladies. And it's just me. That's just kind of what I do. And we can have a big, deep hug if you want, or we can do a side hug. I'll just take a hug. Mm-hmm. But that's kind of how I was raised. Yes, sir. And I think those things are really good. I think those are things people should hang on to. But I understand, and I get it. It's the same way down south too. It's like, well, come on in, shaker. Mm-hmm. I didn't think anything about that. It's a Southern thing. Yes, it's a Southern thing.
So I've learned to be observant in life. Mm-hmm. And so I recognize when it's acceptable and when it's not, and I just make sure that I know the line before I attempt to cross it. So.
Well, that's cool. So let's move a little forward. You've got a career going down there. You're working for the steel company, and then Katrina hit. So I have never talked to someone. Now at the time I was in banking. And I remember whenever people were coming up here or being relocated everywhere just because it was a horrible circumstance. So if you don't mind, let's kind of dig into that story a minute, because I know it was a tough time for a lot of people. So what was it like for David? And did you see it coming? Did you think it was going to be what it was going to be?
Well, no, we did not think it was going to be what it was. So, the year early, I think it was Ivan, was about to hit the coast of New Orleans, and then it veers off and hits Florida. Mm-hmm. And so we had packed up, and at the time I'm on my second marriage. If you've met my wife before, her name's Chrissy. She's actually my second marriage. If we predate Katrina, I was married to a woman named Lana. Her family is from Arkansas, and that's what brings me up here.
Okay.
So I'm married to Lana while we're in New Orleans. Mm-hmm. And so the year before Katrina, so 2004, Ivan's coming up the coast. Man, it's going to be a direct hit to New Orleans. Everyone get off. I'm poverty poor, right? We're poor. And so we got to jump in the vehicle, get these kids in the vehicle and start driving up to Arkansas. Now, the good thing is that Lana's family had a farm up here somewhere close to Star City. It's a little town with like 300
Dude, are you
people.
for real?
Yeah, my ex-wife.
Is that where you went first?
Yeah, my ex-wife went to Star City High School.
Dude, that's crazy. Mm-hmm. That's like 25 minutes from where I grew up. I grew up in Woodlawn. Okay. Which is, just ahead. We're right between Star City's here, Pine Bluff's here.
Yes, sir.
That's right.
I wish I could remember. the town's like 10 of 200.
You blink, it's gone. Yeah.
And when you come up 65, you turn off, and it's a little 20-minute drive.
You can either go to Monticello or you can go to Pine Bluff, two different ways.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And so it's somewhere up in that area. So we would just come up to the farm, spend a weekend or two, but back in them days, you didn't get paid to miss work. You missed work, you wasn't paid. You lose an income. You didn't have the income to afford making the drive. And so now fast forward to 2005, Katrina's coming. I was doing some soccer coaching actually for a little league, and we were at McDonald's that morning, me and a bunch of coaches picking our rosters. And people like, man, maybe we should be going. It's a sad day before it hits Sunday night, Monday morning. I'm like, nah, we did that last year. I'm just sticking it out. And so I get back home, and my mom's freaking out, and we got to get out of here. And the truth is, our way out, because we have nowhere to go outside of Lana's family. Mm-hmm. So no one's leaving unless me and Lana leaves. And so I got my neighbors asking me, my dad's asking me, my mom's asking. So we're like, okay, let's just pack up and go. So we get out of Dodge. And luckily for us, we did, because otherwise, not only you wouldn't know me, we would have died. We had 12 feet of water in the house. It went up into the attic. I had 4 kids. I still have 4 kids now, the same 4 kids, right? We haven't had any more. But my baby girl, Ella, who's now 19 years old, was 2 weeks old at the time, just got out of the hospital.
That's not
And,
convenient.
Yes. And so we had water inside the attic. So there would have been no escape. We would all, theoretically, we would have all died. And so it was good that pressure was coming from some outside sources, and we stopped thinking about how we're going to pay for gas and get out of here. And we just packed the stuff and left. Now, when you're in the coastal area, you see hurricanes all the time, so you never think it's actually going to do what they say. It's going to come in, it's going to flood a little bit. You're going to get out the way. You're going to come back home. You're back to work on Monday. That's the normal progression of a storm. Katrina was different, right? Levees break, and the area floods, and we move on with life. And so,
how long did you? Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, keep going.
I was just gonna say, for me, it wasn't bad in the idea that we got out the way. So we left a day ahead of time, but we didn't see it. We watched the news. Levee breaks. We went Lana's family. They have the farm down towards Star City, Pine Bluff area, but they live up here in Northwest Arkansas. So they were doing some construction stuff. Gotcha. They were building. They're like, if you got to start over, you have to start in Northwest Arkansas. It's the Brockmans. They own the Art Imperial across from Herman Steakhouse. And so they still do business up here. And so, if we're going to start over, you got to start in Northwest Arkansas. So we stayed at the farm for maybe a week or two, and then realized there's no going back home. It's time to make a move. And so we came up.
How did that feel? Let's stop right there. I mean, you grew up in this area all your life.
Yes, sir.
And now everything you know is demolished.
That's correct.
I mean, but I also know, too, that you're a man of faith. You're a Christian.
That's correct.
And so it had to have been hard, but where was your mindset?
I want to believe my mindset was good, but I will tell you there's a defeated side anytime you have to start over in life. Coming up in poverty, I think a lot of things you hold on to is your family, because you don't really have possessions to hold on to anyway. So it's really, my mom always says, blood sticking in water, boy, and so you knew, okay, whatever, I lost a house, I'll get another one, whatever, I lost a car, I'll get another one, and so no big deal. Lost a job, I'll get another one. But you had your family intact, and so I do think I got saved at 24. So by this time I'm 29. Me and my ex-wife, but me and my wife at that time we were in pastoral ministry and leadership, and so we were pretty rooted in there. So there was a side of us that was just, we believe God's got something better. He's going to do something special. And so I think there was chaos, but there was calm in the chaos, if that makes sense. And so then we came up here, and of course it's my family's with us. Now we get to be around Lana's family. So it was kind of a double reward, and it gave us a new chance at life. So it wasn't bad.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good.
And I say that with respect to the people who lost everything and had a different outcome than me. But for me, it wasn't bad.
Well, that's very nice. Well, I mean, that's good. I mean, obviously it worked out, but but it's kind of like at the time, whenever something, when God's moving you around in life, it's not always, that sometimes if we're not careful, we have too many why questions.
My why question comes a few months later, and we'll get into that if you want to. But,
okay. Let it go. Let it flow. Let it flow.
So Hurricane Katrina wasn't, it shook me, but it didn't rattle me, right? Or maybe it rattled me, but it didn't shake me. So we come up here and we start a new life. I'm at Heartland Mortgage. I'm trying to get that stuff settled in, try to learn mortgage broking, get out of kind of manual labor, get more into the suit, and try to get into an aspect of life that I didn't do and provide better for my family. And so I had that opportunity and wanted to take advantage of it. That story is pretty easy, right? So 06, 07, things start to kind of decline.
Yeah, it's a bad time. I was in banking around that time, so I know all about it.
And so things changed. That's about the short of that story. But we were only here for about 6 months, and my wife left me. And so that was to me, because you lose everything, meaning possessions, even the displacement of friends. Like, we pick up a phone. It's not the old days, right? We pick up a phone, talk to each other, stay connected. But after losing everything in Katrina, we fast forward, and it's 6 months later, and me and 4 kids are living in my mom's extra bedroom because I no longer have a wife, I no longer have a house, that's when God, like I thought I was a good guy, I thought I was doing everything right, like I wasn't treating anyone bad, and that's when the why questions really started hitting me. What I will say is, from salvation at 24, Katrina at 29, my wife leaving me at 30, there was a progression of maturity. When I woke up and all I could do was stare at the wall and cry, I thought, I have a chance to change life. Like, because everything, my home is gone, right?
You truly have a clean slate.
Yeah, I do. I'm in a new area with a clean slate, and I have a pathway now that I can just sit back and take. And so the Bible talks about what the devil meant for bad, God will turn to you good. And I don't know how to define it all. All I know is I was at my lowest of low. And if we picked up the story from that, it was a steady climb.
That's wonderful.
And my life changed from that point on. And I'm going to contribute it to God. I'm just going to say that I stayed focused, I stayed dedicated. I wasn't perfect, didn't make every right decision, but we kept on moving. Every opportunity that was presented for me, like, I'm going to dig in, I'm going for it. I'm not going to pass up an opportunity. And I'm going to make sure that I master it. Like we talked earlier about the fact that I didn't enjoy school, I didn't enjoy the pursuit of education. I'm going for it now, right? I'm going to, I have a huge learning curve in front of me. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to master it. I'm going to outwork everyone. And I'm going to make sure that the opportunity put in front of me will not be wasted. And so it was a progression from that point forward, because I was at my bottom, Mr. Woolley. Like I had nothing. I like, when you're 30 years old and you and your 4 kids is living in a 10 by 10 bedroom, it was my mom's extra bedroom, and you wake up and you're not even a man anymore. Like you are so defeated. You thinking, oh, what? Yeah, you don't even know what questions I ask anymore. But what I knew was, all right, it's time to get over it. It's time to move forward.
Time to work. That's awesome.
Yeah. So God did some great things.
That's awesome. So that's when you progressed,
yes, sir,
basically to working for the city. You started out in water treatment. Was Joe working there at the time?
Joe Hall? Is that who you're talking about? Yeah, Joe Hall still works there.
Yeah, I knew he did. Yeah, now it's been a minute since I've seen Joe. He's a musician.
Yes, sir.
He's a night train. And
there's a podcast as well.
Yeah. Oh, does he?
Yeah. You need to. I'll tell you about it off the air. It's good. It's really good.
I was not telling on there. Give it a plug.
It's Dawn of Mantis, and it's him and 2 other friends. So it's 3 of them that they go into murder mystery, and they're not trying to solve it. They just find the weird and unknown, and they just talk about it.
That's awesome.
But Joey's kind of an odd duck, and he makes different. Everything funny.
He's different.
And so it's kind of it's a serious note, but it has a bunch of comic relief, and it just flows well.
It's great, man.
It's good. You need to check it out. Dawn of Mantis.
Dawn of Mantis. Okay, quick plug for Joe Hall. Dawn of Mantis podcast. Give it a try. And tell them David Faulk and Matt Woolley sent you.
Got that right.
All right. So you're working for the city of Prairie Grove. So what was the transition there? Just, decide to go for it?
I do think so. So, I think there's 2 ways that you can look at stuff when devastation happens. I was making $10.99 working for the city at that point. The mortgage broken, obviously, fell out, and it was just, man, I need to pay my bills, so I get a job at the water department, and it's local. I'm literally paying my water bill, and job application. Let me just try it. Like I need a paycheck, and so by this point, my wife has left. I'm alone. I'm by myself. I'm trying to figure some stuff out. But I rather than blaming someone else, I wanted to do some soul searching and realize, well, would I stay with someone that's making $10.99 an hour? Would I stay with, and I'm not trying to knock those, most of those guys, in fact, they're still my friends now, have nothing wrong with being a good person, bringing good into this world and just making a good living.
Oh, yeah. Money doesn't define you.
No, not at all. But also, your job as a husband is to provide. And I'll go, well, maybe I just didn't provide enough. Maybe I didn't. So rather than blaming someone else, I wanted to soul search. And so it goes back to what I said earlier about just this dedication to let's go pursue. Let's just find out what I've missed in life. And now I'm 30, so I have a huge learning curve. But let's go figure it out. And so I'm 1099 and digging a ditch. The one thing I did know is I can serve. And I can outwork people. Like the truth is, I've always been strong. I've never shied away from work. And then some things just worked out. So when we talk about 2013 and me being a police officer,
Yeah, how'd that transition happen?
Chief, our current Chief Chris Workman, he's the captain
Good
at the
dude.
time. Yes. And he's in the progression to be the next chief. And he would literally come knock. I didn't even know him, but he would come knock on my door and go, "Hey man, I see the work you're doing. And I want you to come with me. I'm going to be the next chief. And I want someone like you in my department." But I think I'm a single man, 4 kids. Night shifts, swing shifts, weekends. Like, Chief, I can't do this, man. I really do appreciate it, but I can't. He wait a few months, come knock on the door again. Faulk, I'm telling you, dude, I see something in you. You have to take this chance. By the 3rd time, Faulk, please. All right, man, let's take the chance. Right? Because I'm recognizing that there's not many opportunities that much less you come 3 times and knock and say, come on. And so I took a swing at it, loved the police world, loved it, loved the 10 years that I spent inside that career. And so, go off to academy, do that, get into nighttime patrol. My mom helps me with the swing shifts and monitoring the kids while I'm gone. Of course, me and my ex-wife have a good relationship. We shared custody. We did a every other week thing. And so that was balanced, and my mom would help me while I was on patrol, and then I had the opportunity to be an SRO, and it was the same thing. The school, a few people in the school district knew me. They knew who I was. They knew my attitude. They kind of knew my level head, and they requested me.
That's awesome.
So I get inside the school district, and then it's just another, everything in life kind of has stages. And when I talk about I don't want to waste the opportunity. And so when Chief gave me that opportunity, I didn't just want to be an officer. Chief, I'm going to be the best officer you've ever seen. And I don't know if I am. I did win the Officer of the Year twice. So
awesome.
I was a good officer. I don't know if I was the best you ever seen, but
you were trying.
Yes, the strive for excellence is something that there's nights I can't sleep because the brain's just kicking. Right? Because I've recognized that I may only have 1 or 2 opportunities left in life, and I cannot, Mr. Woolley, I cannot blow these opportunities, right? And so either way, he gave me an opportunity, and I'm going to master it. And so then the school gave me an opportunity, and that's really where I blossomed, because once I got in there, and then it was to be around kids and to influence a generation and to be a good mentor. And those were things that I really truly believe that Chief allowed me to take the gifts and talents I had, and he put me in a perfect situation for it. Then it was run the nonprofits, run all our community events.
Yeah, I remember when you doing that.
And so then it was just kind of, now it's small steps, but it's next level. And every one I just got better. I got better, and I learned a little bit more, and I progressed. And then I started learning the language of business. And so it wasn't and no knock on the New Orleans culture. My accent, truthfully, people love it.
I've learned to embrace mine.
Yeah.
I have one too, and people recognize it when they hear it.
But
Nobody mistakes you on the phone.
No, sir. They know it's Faulk when Faulk calls. And but we don't. There's certain water. When I first got here, no one knew I was even.
The only
asking for
person.
water,
So here's what's funny. I have to tell you this one. We'll stop right there, but don't throw you off.
we'll
Keep
get
on
it.
your path.
I'm on it.
Keep on your path. But you are the only person other than Frank Broyles that's ever pronounced water like that, because I have a funny story. He used to, and I told this on the Robert Mann podcast, but
I heard y'all talk about Frank Broyles.
he'd always ask, "Matt, would you give me a water?"
So where's Frank Broyles from originally?
I don't know. I can't remember where he was from, but he had that same. He had
Northeast
that same
doesn't
drawl.
enunciate them all as like we do. I surely don't have the Boston draw and the New York draw, but sometimes they get confused between the two. It's a different. But
I can't remember. I want to say he was. I cannot remember. I want to say he was. He's regionally from around here, I believe. But anyway, it doesn't matter. But every time I've heard you say water before, and it's the only
water. I literally, if we're having a business meeting, I will literally slow everything down in my brain. That way, I can speak the language of business, and I can say, "Mr. Woolley, would you like a water?" I purposely do those things because I don't know if it matters. Maybe it doesn't. But in the same sense, like I do feel like I represent the city of Prairie Grove, and I want to represent them well.
Absolutely.
And so I don't think I can represent them well if I can't enunciate a word.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
so I do try to.
That's respectable.
Yes, and hopefully that's all it is just trying to be respectful to the job that I've been afforded, and also just get better. It is very, very difficult to shake hands with business professionals when you can't speak properly. And so I've dug into reading, and I've always liked podcasts, documentaries. I've always, at least late in life, I'm talking about late 20s, early on, like I loved the pursuit of information in that regard. I've never enjoyed reading.
You
But
understand?
I'm forcing myself to enjoy it.
I understand. I'm the same
One
way.
book to the next, and I'm not quick at it. I'm not quick-witted, and so I take my time with it. I try to comprehend as much as I can.
Is your book you'd like to speak to right now? Is it a good one you like?
Man, you know, I like one of the books that I really enjoyed, and they short books, and so your listening base may laugh, but the McRaven books, he does the Make Your Bed and Lessons from a Bullfrog. It's military type books, but I can pull a lot of
Oh no, that's
leadership
great.
from it.
No, I think that's great.
And so they quick reads for me, and it's not. And I tried Jordan Peterson, and
I mean, that's a long one. That's a long one. 12.
and
yeah,
it's and
that's a big
he's
one.
he's
very
more
smart.
he's more intelligent than I.
No, me too.
And so that was a difficult read for me. And,
Yeah, it's I like short and sweet. One thing, throw this one out there. And there's stuff like our ice, our iceberg is melting. There's little short read. It doesn't have to. I tell everybody all the time because you can get into. There's guys out there you can get in debates over because they're like, oh, you're not smart unless you've read a book this big, And I'm like, look, here's the reality. My cousin told me this a long time ago. He's a very successful businessman. Now he retired early, living on a ranch in Texas.
God bless him. Right?
Yeah, that's right. Hey, more power to him. But he used to tell me, he said, Matt, if you want to find a book that will help you in business, he said a lot of the books of yesteryear have the same identical principles that make people successful today, except they weren't trying to hit like a 300-page minimum. He said they get to the point a lot quicker. And dude, I have searched and searched, and sometimes I found some of them actually in Prairie Grove at some of the antique shops. But dude, you'll find a book this thin that's got 50 pages in it, but it brings more than 3 other books that I read. It doesn't have to be big to be impactful. And the truth of the matter is, I don't know about you, maybe I'm just not smart enough, but when I've read, massive books, I might pull one thing from it, literally. I mean, one sentence speaks to me. I'm like, this is how I need to do this. And then you move into the next one. So I'm not a guy that, wisdom can come in all forms.
Yes, sir.
That's where I'm at.
I do think there's some people that enjoy to read, so you can put the encyclopedia in front of them.
Oh, yeah.
They just enjoy that.
Give me the Cliff Notes.
Yes, sir. I do believe that what you're saying is 100%, because even in your 1,000-page book versus your 100-page book, there's a lesson to be learned. So it just comes down to what lesson you're trying to pursue from it. And so when I'm looking at just leadership things, the 20 books so far that I've read on leadership, they all say the same thing. They critique it in a different way, or they maneuver it. They pull it from a life lesson here. But in many cases, it's the same thing, right? It's how to build a team. It's how to stay motivated. It's how to stay dedicated. It's, whether some people have a key to success in waking up early, but the traits kind of run the same movements. And so.
And a lot of and in my take, and I know you can appreciate this, and, as a Christian, truth be known, a lot of the successful advice that if you read in between the lines of how people are treated, or how to work with people, or how to have patience, or how to have listening, all that comes from the Bible, truthfully.
Yes, sir.
That's the foundation for me. So
the 2 books I'm reading right now, one's a municipality book, but it's the 13 Ways to Kill Your City. And
Oh, wow.
I'm only on chapter 2, but the first one was to build a city around water, or the fact that
Yeah.
at that. But he
Yeah,
smiled because I said water. But the fact that the true goal in this world, the fact his quote is that the next war won't be fought over money, it's going to be fought over water. Because if you don't have water, you don't have life.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so then the second one is about competition in the workplace and the business place, and how he has traveled through these smaller towns, and you have a town where the one grocery store is owned by the person who kind of runs the city, and they won't let competition coming in. But there's a very similar in population small town down the road that has 2 grocery stores, but those 2 grocery stores are more competitive than the one, and it's more prosperous to the area than the one. So it's a
Capitalism.
Yes, it truly is. And
the one grocery store is a crony capitalism, and the 2 grocery stores are what capitalism's meant to be.
And the second book, so I read one in the morning and one in the evening, and I try to go through a chapter a day, and it's about Nehemiah rebuilding the wall, and it's about rebuilding leadership.
Great
So
story.
I'm using that as a leadership tool, and they do go from how to rebuild relationships to how to rebuild teams, and so they're using a format to go through a few different aspects. Most of it's about getting out your comfort zone, making sure he was a cupbearer for the king, and the fact that he was doing a job that wasn't called to him, and that's really a good leeway to get back. So when I got into the nonprofit stuff for the police world, the truth is I started working more hours than I was ever paid for. I was doing stuff that wasn't necessarily my job. I just felt it was my calling. And we wanted to promote greatness and excellence around what you gave me. I wanted my fingerprint on something, and what you gave me, I wanted to leave it back to you 10 times better. And so
you did put on some successful events. I got to give you street cred. You did, you really did. And David Henry always gave some of the best donations.
he lives down in Russellville. He lives down in Russellville now.
Yeah.
And so I'm still connected to him, still talk to him all the time. He runs he sold his business, so David's Roofing no longer is owned by David Henry.
Is it owned by Alex? Or
I know Alex still runs it. He has a 2-year contract, so he's still there helping run the business. Ironically, it's another David who bought it, but it's a outsider that came in.
Interesting.
And bought it.
I did not know that.
And so when David Henry moved to Russellville, it was more for a retirement reason. But now he runs like cornhole. He does he builds cornhole boards and runs tournaments. And so
he's a character. He used to be my neighbor for a short second. Really? He owned the piece of land that was beside my house. And the first time, funny story about David Henry, first time I met him, I live out in the country, as you know, or what used to be the country. And he owned the piece of land next to us, and he had some stuff sitting over there. And that was this was years ago, but it was when we had a string of theft. Just a couple of boys going on people's property and just taking stuff. And I think he had a wood splitter or something. Anyways, some dude comes walking in my backyard, just looking around like, he is who he is. There's no smoke and mirrors with David Henry. He's straight shooter.
He's an honest man.
And so the quick story was, I like him a lot. But the quick story was like, hey buddy, what are you doing here? And he's like, well, I'm trying to see where my blah 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 went. He kind of had an attitude with me. I said, well, it ain't here. And then after a few minutes, I think he realized that there's no foul play there. And then I get to talking with him. Next thing you know, he's just a great dude. Yeah. And I'm proud to know him. I'm glad he's doing well too.
Yeah, he's rough around.
Tell him I said hi.
I will.
But yeah, so let's transition a little bit. Sorry to hijack the conversation. No, this is all great.
It's your show, sir.
Well, but I try to be there's so much I want to go over.
Yes, sir.
All right. So you're heavily involved in the PD. You're a man. Everybody knows you in the area. And then, you're doing the school thing, which actually gives you a great connection to the youngsters. And I remember hearing good things there. And then let's transition a little bit. So number one, before we get off into the mayor piece, so 2020, you decided you're going to do the 5-year teacher license. So why did you want to do that? Why did you want to get into that? Why did you want to open that can of worms?
Just to be better. Just truthfully, by this point in life, I could.
How old were you at this time?
Oh gosh, you're gonna test me on this. And what is it? 2025 now? We're in
Yes.
2025.
So 5 years ago?
Yeah, so 5 years ago. So 43.
43, and you decided, so you started this whenever you were 38?
Yes, sir.
So,
I was
but-
36 in the academy because I was the
Okay.
third to oldest person in the academy.
So you're pulling double overtime then. So you're working as a cop and then trying to get your college degree.
So I did not get a college
Oh,
degree.
not college degree. So what? How does that
reason-
work?
Yes, the reason you see it as a 5-year permit on that one. So the way teacher licenses work is that if you have so many accredited hours in a certain profession,
Oh, God.
so that's why it's criminal. That's why I have
criminal
a permit for criminal justice.
Nice. Okay.
So I did have to do some. I had to jump some hoops through the Department of Education that they require. So every teacher is required, and I don't actually remember the courses, but every teacher is required to do these 3 or 4 courses. So I had to do some online courses through them. That way I could obtain the teacher's permit. But that was very similar to Chief going, hey, would you like to do this? Hey, would you like to do our community? So Mrs. Reba Holmes, who's the superintendent at the time, was like, we'd like to have a criminal justice class. You ever thought about teaching? The good thing is and you kind of notice I'm not the most eloquent speaker, but if you give me a mic, I ain't shy.
Right.
And so she's like, I've seen you around the kids. I know you can speak.
Talk to a tree if you think it's listening.
Yeah. And so, I don't have many gifts, but it's a
Yeah,
gift,
no,
right?
yeah, that's
and,
all right.
and so,
I've always thought that he was very personable.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. I
So,
try to be.
yeah.
But, so it was a request, and the request.
did it?
Yes, sir. And I'm like, yeah, you give me the opportunity, I'll jump in. And
So how long did you teach that class?
It was 2 years, and
What was that rewarding? Was that different? I mean, how do you
was
teach?
very,
how,
very different.
How do you teach criminal justice to high schoolers?
So they only allowed me to have one class.
Okay.
And all truth be known, it's an online class, so it's more of a facilitator.
Yeah.
But what I would do, trying to make it so it wasn't, hey man, turn on your computer, click these buttons, go if you need questions. I would actually do the whole week before them, and then I would get in, I would give them their assignments, and then we would go through it together. So I would, like a normal teacher would, sit up front. We would go through it. We would read chapters together. We would break down because I knew the questions that they had, and that way I would force the engagement. And then all I had to do was go home and hit buttons at that point, right? It wasn't going to change their life as far as it's not mathematics and reading and comprehension. They wasn't looking for the engineering degree with Mr. Cook. It was, hey, are you interested in maybe going into criminal justice? And so we could kind of, hate to say give them the answers, but we could fish the answers in a different way than just leaving them on a computer. So in that
You
aspect,
engage them so they would remember it.
in that aspect, it was great. A lot of the kids knew me. My daughter was in the class.
Yeah.
And so some of the kids took it as a joke class. And so you had to put your foot on a few of their necks to just go, come on, man, this is not a joke. I didn't get paid because I was on the side, but I'm getting paid to do this.
Yeah.
I want to be great, which means you have to be great.
That's awesome.
But I've learned in life to enjoy the challenge.
Yeah.
And it was a welcome challenge, and it's another thing that I can put. If you look at pre-30, I don't have much that I have on that, right? I didn't go to college. I was basically in a steel mill.
You're just doing life?
Yeah, I was just doing life. I had some kids, and I was trying to raise a family, and so it was a different
Two separate
path.
men.
Yes, sir.
Two
It was
separate
100%. And so I got the opportunity and took it. Soccer was very similar.
That's awesome. Well, okay, so we're already
jumping
almost
ahead.
out of, no, it's all right. We're almost out of time, so we're going to have to, because I know this is the one I want to get to,
Okay.
because this is where you're at now. So right now, you are the mayor of Prairie Grove. So as a Prairie Grovian, I remember this time very well. And just full transparency,
Yes, sir.
whenever I heard you jumped on, I was like, say what? And there were a few other people that did. Now I was an advocate. I was an advococate, let me say.
I was going to ask you what to say. What good or bad?
I was an advocate. So what made you do it? And I feel like this is a multiple layered question.
It is very layered.
So in a nutshell,
I'm going to give you the easy version. Remember Chief knocking on my door?
yeah.
So I get it's just a few people in my inner circle. They go, hey man, there's going to be a regime change. Sonny's stepping down.
Yeah, he'd been at how long? A minute. 12 years?
Yeah. No, he's 20 22 years.
Oh,
Something like that. He was a mayor for 22. He was on city council previous to that, so he had 30 years of an elected official's life in the city of Prairie Grove and served them well. And so now there's a regime change going on. And so no matter what, there was going to be someone new in that position. And so at that time, Mr. Rick Alt had thrown his name in. So he was the serious contender at that point. And then we had a few other people talking. And some very respected people were talking about whether or not they would jump in a race. And some of them had came.
Sean was one of them.
Sean Fiddler.
And then,
I don't know. I think Lynn will be all right with me saying this, but Lynn Gregson was one of the ones that talked about it. Me and him talked in private in many cases. Are you going to do it? Are you going to do it? What do you think? And I have people coming to me. Yeah, people coming to you. But so it kind of starts with the inner circle, and I push it off. Remember, I love, and I'm not just saying it, like I loved my job as an SRO. And that's, I just was requested about being a soccer coach, and I'm like 100%. That's why all I was able to do was the off-season program because as we fast forward, I'm going to win, right? And so my job, my level's progression in where I am, and I love it. I can do it for the next 10 years, go to retirement, and just enjoy, sit back and enjoy life. But I tell the first people, nope, I love what I'm doing. Life is good. And then a week or so later, a few more people. No, man, I'm telling you, life is good. I appreciate it. Maybe when I retire 10 years from now, life is good. And then I get people coming to my house. I have business leaders, community leaders coming knocking on my door saying, and I'm telling you, it's you. You need to run. You who will support you. Tell me how big to write the check. It's you. No, man, I don't know. And so, but now it's creating such a buzz in my world that I sit down with my wife and go, let's see, what should I do? Like I've looked my kids in the face and said, you don't pass up opportunity. Like you swing for the fences, you figure it out, you take the challenge. And so I'm comfortable where I am, and I can do this for the rest of my life, and I'm good at what I do. Or do I take the swing? She's like, you've always told people to take the swing. Why are you even asking me, right? And so I'm like, all right. And so at that point on, the first person I went and met with was Ernie Penn, the mayor of Farmington. Me and Ernie, I don't think has ever talked at this point. I called him and said, hey, can I take a moment of your time? This is kind of what's going on in my life. Sat down, had about an hour meeting with him. Just went through some semantics. Hey, this is what's going on. What do you think? And it's not that he gave me he doesn't know me, so can't really give me his seal of approval. But he just said, I've got an hour with you, and I'm telling you, you're the type of person that a community would want. I said, thank you, Ernie. And so then I went and met with different church leaders, community leaders, and business leaders, and just went, I don't want to be the other guy. This is not about, I think I can do this job. I have a huge learning curve. Why do you want me? And so we just went through the progression. And so it took about a month of me just kind of studying it. And by the time I put my name in a hat, I think there's 3 other people that's officially in, that's turned in their paperwork. I would be number 4. We had heard rumors that Andrew Bain was going to jump in. I was talking to Lynn Gregson, who was talking about jumping in, and I was talking to Sean Fiddler, who was talking about jumping in. And so we were communicating amongst each other on, do we all go in together? Is that one that fits better? And so as soon as I tell Lynn's backing out, he's like, nope, man, I don't want it. I believe exactly what you're saying. I believe God told me the same thing. My career's somewhere else. Me and Sean continue to talk, and but I jump in, and one guy jumps out that day. I jump in, he knows me, calls me, man, if I'd have known you was jumping in, I wouldn't have jumped in. He jumped out. A few days later, I can't remember who the other one was, but he bows out. So then it's just me and Mr. Alt at this point. And honestly, all due respect, because he was my council member, or he was a council member with me for 2 years. All due respect to Mr. Alt, I thought it would have been a real challenge for me to beat Mr. Alt. He's a wise man, and he loved the city. And so now it's going to be me and him going head to head. And I won't speak on his behalf, but he stepped out too. And so by, the election's not to November, and I think he stepped out end of September, October.
Yeah, it was close. It was close.
And so at that point, it's a lock. We know exactly what we're doing, so we started making plans from that point forward, and so now it's the same thing. We had a community that was willing to come knock on my door and say, I respect you, I believe in you, I trust you, and so I stepped into that realm, and now not only can I not let myself down, not that I cannot let my wife down, I cannot let God down, but there was thousands of people that came and said, you're the guy, and so I can't let them down either. And so I have a huge task in front of me. It's a challenge that I welcomely accepted, and a huge learning curve. Once again, I was never in municipal government. There's a lot for me to learn, but my hours are 8 to 4 Monday through Friday. I'm a 6 a.m. guy. I usually get off about 7, 8 o'clock at night between the extra stuff I do, the different committees I'm on. I'm out still every morning, 7 a.m., doing a drop-off at elementary school, volunteering my time. I don't believe that even when we move from progression to progression, we forget where we came from or we forget what got us there. This is not save room for dessert. If serving got me to where I am, and I feel like not only do I have to continue to serve, but I still have to continue to learn and be bad at my job. So my Monday through Friday, my 8 to 5 is okay. Let's figure out how to be the best daily mayor, right? I've got to go in every day. How do I run this? How do I be a leader? How do I form this team, get the troops? How do I make the decisions, make sure that the problems that come, the complaints that come get answered in a timely fashion, and make sure that we're leading our city in the right direction. I still do all my volunteer stuff. I still work on the weekends. And then I got all these committees because once again, I'm not looking to back down from anything, right? I am not ducking nothing. And so I don't know, the citizens get to dictate how long I'm in this profession. And the way I look at it is an opportunity to learn as much as I can, to progress as full as I can. And if there's a time where the citizens go, it's time for a leadership change, or let's just be honest, I can make one bad decision, and that's enough for me to, for someone else to take my spot. And so my goal at this point is to progress and learn as much as I can, as fast as I can, to make sure that I'm ready for the next phase of my life. And I hope, I went into that election hoping that I would build a 20-year career in the city of Prairie Grove as their mayor. But once again, the citizens get to dictate that. So every 4 years, and I'm 2 years away from that, the citizens will tell me if I'm doing a good job or not. And so I take each 4-year block, and I'm only in my first 4 years, but I take each 4-year block and go, what can I get from this 4 years? What new trait can I learn, and what relationships can I build? And that way I'm ready for the next aspect of my life. If God puts me at another one of them walls where I'm by myself crying, I know that I can move forward.
That's just fantastic, David. I can't. Usually I end these with asking some sort of wisdom, but I think the takeaway from you just in this conversation, let me just summarize it for you. Trust in the Lord, work hard, never give up.
Yes, sir.
That seems to be your motto.
Yes, sir.
That's awesome.
It took me a long time to learn it, but once I learned it, we're gonna hold firm to that.
That's awesome. David, I can't think of a better way to wrap this up. I want to thank you for coming on, and I hope you'll come on again.
Anytime you invite me, I'll be here, sir. It was a pleasure.
Appreciate you, David.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, man.